Hello everybody. I have an iceberg I would like to talk about today of the elevator filming community, so let's begin at the surface. Okay, so the first thing I would like to talk about, the first item on the surface, is that receiving Area 3 at the King of Prussia Mall is an Otis Black button. And guys, I think you all know this one, it's pretty obvious, you can just tell by the size of the freight elevator. So anyway, moving on, the annoying freight elevator is a Dover elevator. I'm pretty certain that this is another fairly well-known fact, and in this case you can tell by the indicators they used, which, at the time, was only used by Dover elevators. Next, I would like to discuss the deep end. The first item on this list is that Otis is going out of business because they promote smoking in elevators. In 2009, Otis teamed up with the cigarette company Marlboro and made a commercial depicting somebody smoking in an Otis elevator. And unfortunately, because of this, for the past 13 years, Otis has been on a downward spiral towards bankruptcy. The next item on our list is that the door close works in Schindler elevators. Now I'd like to clarify, this isn't true 100% of the time. In fact, it's due to a software bug in Schindler elevators, where 1 hour out of the entire year, the door close button will begin to work. And because of this rarity of this occurrence, it's very difficult to prove that this is true. However, you should take my word for it, it is most definitely true. Finally, there's the point that most elevator photographers are spies. Now, I, of course, am not, but it all makes sense if you think about it. Most elevator photographers seem innocent, and most of the times it is possible to get away from security by letting them know, hey, I'm just filming on an elevator, no big deal here. It's the perfect place to put spies in, and unfortunately this does mean that our country's security is being breached by elevator photographers' spies. Moving down the iceberg, we are going to look at the items within the hidden depths. First of all, I would like to discuss the elevator black market. On the elevator black market, if you did not know this already, it is possible to buy any elevator part you desire off of any elevator, including ones that are currently in service. Now the way this works is that people are out for hire that will dress up as elevator inspectors in disguise, and they will go into any elevator that you wish for a certain price that they name, which could be high depending on how difficult it is to get through unspotted, and they will remove whatever elevator parts you want off of the elevator. Now, for a high enough price, you could theoretically even buy an entire elevator, for instance, the annoying freight, but this price would be very high as it would be difficult to remove the elevator without anyone noticing. Also on the elevator black market are elevator certifications. So if a business has an elevator that needs its certification updated, but it currently isn't up to code, they can simply buy a counterfeited one off of the elevator black market. Also in the hidden depths is the fact that the Exton Square Mall is using their service elevator for drug trafficking. And now this is one I've actually witnessed myself. I was watching the service elevator at the Exton Square Mall, and I saw a few people wheel a couple carts of drugs onto the elevator, and I thought it was unusual, and the strangest part of all is that they pulled out a key card which they put up against the side, so it must have been a sort of wireless tappable card that they used to go to, I'm guessing, a secret underground storage room for the drugs. However, as everything was wireless and there aren't any traces of anything on the wall, I can't tell without actually pulling the panel off the side of the service elevator. So unfortunately, there's no way to actually access this room as of yet. Okay guys, at this point we are below the bottom of the iceberg, and we are down to the lost at sea level of the elevator filming community iceberg. And the first item on this very, very dark list is that the Titanic actually sunk because of an elevator. Now, I'm not denying that the Titanic hit an iceberg and it took on water because of the iceberg. That part is definitely true. However, it's just somewhat unknown, but the Titanic wouldn't have sank because it wouldn't have taken on enough water if it wasn't for one of its service elevators in the back. And what happened is that the doors got caught open at one point while they were trying to evacuate water from the Titanic. And because of the doors catching open, Water flooded up through the elevator shaft and was actually the cause of the Titanic taking on too much water and the ship therefore sinking. The next item is that the COVID-19 actually escaped the lab that it was created in through an elevator. And again, I'm pretty sure this was some sort of glitch that caused it. But regardless, it was some bug in software because of an elevator that caused COVID-19, probably a Schindler or something dumb. I'm not entirely sure. I'd also like to bring up on this part of the list a channel that I believe has been deleted called Filmer of Eastern PA 5522. Again, it's been deleted, you can't go there now. However, that channel had some pretty dark elevator content on it. And speaking of pretty dark, it's the reason that the Granite Run Mall ended up closing. Now, you can look this up and you'll see varying sources. They tried covering this up a little bit, but the real reason the Granite Run Mall closed was pretty dark. Ooh, a lot of bloodshed. Honestly, you don't really want to look that one deeper. Just, don't do that. Alright, gang. We're finally down at the very bottom, the abyss, and we have a few more things to talk about. First of all is the Exton Mall ghost. For those of you who may not know, and this wasn't very well known about, but in 2010, a cult was formed at Macy's in Exton, and unfortunately, they did summon a ghost. No one's quite sure who this ghost was the spirit of in a former life, and attempts to communicate further with the ghost have so far failed. However, it's believed that after exiting Macy's and exploring the mall for a few months, the ghost has since then resided on the top floor of the parking garage, near Macy's. And I don't really want to get into that, never mind. Anyway, the second point is that the Exton Square Mall freight elevator, I know what you're thinking. Everybody knows about the freight elevator at the Exton Square Mall. But I'm not talking about the freight elevator. I'm talking about a different one. Back in the 90s, there actually used to be a second one near where the JCPenney's is right now. And unfortunately, there was a horrible accident at the time, and in order to cover it up and prevent an already floundering mall from experiencing negative publicity, they did end up covering up the elevator in cement and sealing it off from the outside world. And in fact, they never even bothered cleaning up the accident. So the remains of the unfortunate worker who suffered through the accident and died is still contained within the walls of the Exton Square Mall, never to be uncovered again. And speaking of JCPenney's, I would just like to mention the second floor of JCPenney's in Exton. Unfortunately, since it's been closed off for quite a few years now, it's impossible to say with any sort of certainty what's inside. Obviously, the bottom floor contains an arcade at the moment, and sometimes the very front of the store does contain a Halloween shop. However, during the rest of the year, and for the rest deeper depths of the JCPenney's, nobody knows what belongs inside of there, and the only hints we have at anything that could possibly be happening are abnormally large EMP waves coming out of the JCPenney's. What's going on inside of it? Who's doing this? Why are there EMP waves? We don't know these things, but there's definitely something up inside of the JCPenney's. And the final point on the list that I would like to mention is my channel.